All right, so I'm going to give you a few more details about the founding of the New Left and of the sexual revolution in general, which is probably the most successful element of the agenda of the New Left. Okay. All right. So look, there were never that many communists, people that belonged to the Communist Party in the United States in the 1920s and the 1930s. And in 1945, the number is going down dramatically, right? It's going down as anti-communist sentiment rises and as people are more and more aware of what Stalin is doing and afraid of him, right? Okay, well, there's one event in particular that kind of is like the death knell for the Communist Party and the significance of those who would promote Stalinist ideology or promote kind of a doctrinaire or Bolshevik interpretation of Marx. And that is in 1956, a brutal repression of a rebellion in Hungary. Now, Stalin had been dead for 3 years. There was hope that the Soviet Union would kind of lighten up after Stalin, and that hope is extinguished with this repression of the rebellion in Hungary, in which 40,000 Hungarian freedom fighters are killed. Okay, so this is shocking to the world, and like all these Marxists are like, forget it. Like, this didn't work. Like, this isn't gonna work. Like, we can't pursue these economic and political goals anymore. We gotta just stop here, right? And so a lot of them then turn to the to culture or to like social activism as a way of changing society and what they believe is going to lead towards better human liberation, right? All right. So many of the people that joined the New Left or that found the New Left movements look at this guy, Herbert Marcuse, as like an inspiration, as a founding guy in some way. Okay, why? Well, Herbert Marcuse, look, he's operating off of Marx, and he's reading Marx, and he says, look, Marx was wrong, right? The fundamental thing that was the fundamental struggle within the fight for human liberation is not class. The class struggle paradigm is not right. He got, that Marcuse rejects it, and he says, actually, what was fundamental was sex, okay? Like, sexuality is the thing that's going to lead to human liberation. Okay, that's Marcuse. All right. In fact, if we think about it from the context of critical theory, right? What he's going to do, and what I'm going to suggest is you got to destroy all of the norms of sex in the West. You have to destroy the value system associated with sex in the West. So what is that value system? How does the West interpret sex? Well, sex is good, according to the West, but it needs to be in the context of marriage between a man and a woman, and it's associated with children. Okay, those are the norms that have to be destroyed according to the New Left here, right? Damn repressive. And so you see this kind of taking off right away in movements, again, like we mentioned in the introduction, to universally around the country legalize contraceptives. Again, that can cause abortions for some women, unbeknownst to them. To legalize abortion, to, normalize homosexual behavior, to do all these things. So all that is tied together, right? And also at the same time period, you get this book, The Feminine Mystique, where you have this Simone de Beauvoir. She's arguing that really the traditional role of motherhood and being a wife is a form of class oppression, essentially, of women, right? So she's right off of this whole thing of destroying the values that are tied to sex in the West, right? So the whole thing proceeds really quick, right? With pornography laws kind of falling apart, and then everything, it's like domino effect, right? And domino effect from the late 50s into the 60s and in the 70s, okay? So look, if we think about the reading that you have today, right? It's Whittaker Chambers' testimony called Witness, and he had been a communist, and he converted back to being a Christian. and opposing communists, and really being the leading anti-communist intellectual voice in the 1950s in the United States, and articulating one of the most complex and nuanced positions in opposition to communism, one of them. And what is his point? Well, his point is that, look, this fight with communism is not a political and economic fight. That's not the core issue. The core issue is philosophical and spiritual, ultimately. That's Whittaker Chambers' point, right? In some ways, that agrees with Flannery O'Connor, right? And he says, look, this is part of a kind of central crisis within Western civilization. He says that we've been dealing with for a long time, and that is just now reaching to the crescendo of the crisis, right? He would say, look, the crisis did not crescendo here with the Second World Wars. It's just now getting to that point with this battle between these different value systems, okay? So he sees it very much in a spiritual context, okay? All right. Now, in thinking about all this stuff, right, too, there's a few things here. Number one is, first of all, it's evil to exploit people for sexual advantage. It is. You know it is. It is, okay? It is. And there's many ways to do it, and it's evil. Don't do it, okay? Two is, we're all going to make mistakes. And we're all going to be compassionate towards others who make mistakes around us and understanding, right? And we also are going to have to deal and counter and many people who disagree, right? And being compassionate towards them. Love is central. Love means accepting a person as a human being, right? Regardless of what they think or do, but accept him as a person, right? But at the same time, love also requires speaking the truth, okay? So truth must be spoken. And we have to also defend and assert the truths, the universal truths about human nature, and the truths about what makes human beings flourish and makes them happy and what's consistent with our nature, right? All right, so that's a few things. Love and truth, they always got to go together, right? All right. And, love and truth always got to go together, right? Because they're the same. You can't have love without speaking the truth, right? Speaking the truth is a form of love. It's consistent with love. And if it's not, then it's not truth. Truth and love are always consistent. All right? All right.